There is an animal alive on Earth right now that has survived every single mass extinction event in the last 600 million years, can live in the vacuum of outer space without a spacesuit, withstand radiation levels that would kill a human thousands of times over, and come back to life after being completely frozen solid for decades. And the wildest part? It is so small you could fit dozens of them on the period at the end of this sentence. This is the tardigrade, and it is arguably the most resilient creature that has ever existed on this planet. Scientists discovered these microscopic animals back in 1773 when a German zoologist named Johann August Ephraim Goeze peered through a microscope and spotted something that looked like a tiny 8-legged bear shuffling around in a film of water. He called it a little water bear, and that nickname has stuck ever since. Tardigrades are found absolutely everywhere on Earth. We are talking rainforest canopies, Antarctic ice sheets, the bottom of the ocean, the tops of Himalayan mountains, hot springs, sand dunes, and even in the gutters on the roof of your house. Wherever there is a thin layer of moisture and something to eat, a tardigrade has almost certainly set up camp there. There are more than 1,300 known species, and scientists suspect there are hundreds more we have not identified yet. But what makes these creatures genuinely mind-bending is not where they live. It is what they can survive. Because a tardigrade does not just tolerate harsh conditions, it essentially cheats death in a way that no other animal on Earth comes close to matching. So how does an animal the size of a grain of sand shrug off conditions that would obliterate almost every other living thing? The answer lies in one of the most extraordinary biological tricks ever evolved, and it is called cryptobiosis. When a tardigrade senses that its environment is becoming dangerously hostile, whether that means drying out, freezing, losing oxygen, or being bathed in toxic chemicals, it does something remarkable. It pulls all 8 of its stubby legs inward, contracts its entire body into a tiny barrel-shaped blob called a ton, and then systematically expels almost all of the water from its cells. We are talking about going from roughly 85% water content down to just 3%. In doing this, the tardigrade essentially hits a biological pause button. Its metabolism drops to less than 0.01% of its normal rate. Its heart stops. Its brain activity flatlines. By almost every definition we use to describe life, this creature is no longer alive, and yet it is not dead either. It is suspended in a state somewhere between the two, waiting. What protects its cells from collapsing or tearing apart without water is a special sugar called trehalose. This sugar floods the interior of the tardigrade's cells and essentially replaces the water, forming a kind of biological glass around all the delicate proteins and membranes that would otherwise shrivel and break. Think of it like wrapping every component of a machine in a perfectly fitted protective casing before storing it in a warehouse for years. When conditions improve and water returns, the tardigrade rehydrates, unfurls its legs, and walks away as if nothing happened. Researchers have documented tardigrades reanimating after being in this ton state for more than 30 years. Now, surviving a drought or a deep freeze is impressive, but it barely scratches the surface of what tardigrades can endure. Let us talk about radiation, because this is where things get almost unbelievable. The dose of radiation that would kill a human being is around 10 gray, a unit used to measure absorbed radiation energy. Most animals die somewhere in that range. Tardigrades have been shown to survive doses of up to 570,000 gray of heavy ion radiation. They can also withstand ultraviolet radiation at levels thousands of times higher than what reaches Earth's surface on the brightest day. The secret there is a unique protein in their cells called DSUP, which stands for damage suppressor. This protein physically wraps around the tardigrade's DNA like a shield, preventing radiation from breaking the strands apart. Scientists have actually successfully transferred the gene that produces DSUP into human cells in a laboratory setting, and those cells became significantly more resistant to radiation damage. That finding has enormous implications for medicine and for protecting astronauts on long-duration space missions. Speaking of space, in 2007, the European Space Agency attached tardigrades to the outside of a spacecraft and sent them into low Earth orbit. They were exposed to the full vacuum of space, cosmic radiation, and extreme temperature swings for 10 days. When the spacecraft returned and the tardigrades were rehydrated, a significant portion of them were still alive. They had survived open outer space with zero protection. No other animal has ever done that. One mission, launched by a private Israeli company in 2019, actually crash-landed on the moon with tardigrades aboard, almost certainly depositing living specimens on the lunar surface, where they sit today in ton state. It is easy to hear all of this and assume tardigrades must be some cutting-edge evolutionary novelty, a recent biological experiment that nature stumbled upon, but the fossil record tells a completely different story. The oldest confirmed tardigrade fossil dates back approximately 530 million years, which puts them firmly in the Cambrian period, an era when most complex animal life on Earth was only just beginning to take shape. To put that in perspective, dinosaurs did not appear until roughly 230 million years ago. Tardigrades had already been around for 300 million years before the first dinosaur took its first step. They survived the Ordovician extinction, the late Devonian extinction, the Permian-Triassic extinction, which killed off more than 90% of all species on Earth, the End-Triassic extinction, and the asteroid impact that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago. Every single one of those events. And here they are today, thriving in your backyard moss. What is fascinating from an evolutionary standpoint is that tardigrades have not changed very much at all. The basic body plan, 8 legs, a tubular mouth with stylets for piercing plant cells and algae, and that remarkable cryptobiotic ability has remained largely stable for hundreds of millions of years. Biologists sometimes call creatures like this living fossils, though that term is a bit misleading since they continue to diversify into new species. A more accurate description might be that tardigrades found a survival strategy so effective, so comprehensively brilliant, that evolution had very little reason to tinker with it. When something works that well across 500 million years of planetary upheaval, you leave it alone. So what do we actually do with all of this? Because the tardigrade is not just a cool piece of trivia to drop at a dinner party, though it is absolutely that too. These tiny animals are actively reshaping fields from medicine to astrobiology in ways that could have real consequences for human life in the coming decades. That didyouknow protein we mentioned earlier is now being studied seriously as a potential tool for radiation therapy, specifically for protecting healthy cells during cancer treatment. Right now, radiation treatment for cancer unavoidably damages the healthy tissue surrounding a tumour. If doctors could temporarily introduce DSUP-like protection into those cells, the side effects of treatment could be dramatically reduced. Researchers are also studying the mechanism by which tardigrades enter and exit cryptobiosis in hopes of applying it to organ preservation. Currently, transplant organs can only survive outside the body for a matter of hours. If scientists can figure out how to induce a cryptobiosis-like state in human tissue, that window could be extended dramatically, saving thousands of lives each year. And then there is the astrobiology angle. The fact that tardigrades can survive in space raises a genuinely serious scientific question. Could microscopic life forms survive interplanetary travel, hitching rides on asteroids or space debris? If tardigrades can do it, maybe other organisms can too, and maybe life on Earth itself arrived here from somewhere else billions of years ago. That idea is called panspermia, and the tardigrade has given it a serious boost in credibility. The next time you walk across a patch of moss or dirt, just remember, you are almost certainly stepping over thousands of tiny water bears, quietly existing, basically immortal, and completely unbothered. If you found this as mind-blowing as we did, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another fact that makes you rethink the world around you.